Multiple days of weather is expected beginning today, this weekend, and into early to middle of next week over the similar areas for each individual day. We will dig into all the details of the future radar, some of the ingredients that will be in place, and why we're going to be in such a hyperactive period over the next 4 to 5 days or so. Now, taking a look at today, there's just one model output, but we are seeing a warm front that will begin to lift northeast through Iowa, Illinois, and South Dakota. And along that gradient, along the warm front, we may see a cluster of severe thunderstorms develop over the next few hours or so. Storms are struggling right now to organize, but if they do this afternoon, they will likely ride this warm front down into Iowa later today. This is about 6 p.m. this evening or so. We see some weather up into Wisconsin along the cold front, a very weak cold front, you can say, and then maybe a cluster of thunderstorms along a warm front down to Iowa. We have seen a lot more model consistency amongst a few different models on this cluster happening, so I'm pretty sure this cluster will happen this afternoon or evening, and if it does, there will be a chance to produce a localized corridor of damaging wind gusts and large hail. As we push further into the evening, though, we should see storms rapidly weaken into sunset time frame as it moves into a lot more stable air to the evening. But then as we move into tomorrow time frame, we should see some storms develop sometime tomorrow afternoon and evening. We will likely have some sort of cap in place before the shortwave trough arrives. So we will likely have a pretty late initiation for storms tomorrow afternoon and evening. But tomorrow night into Sunday morning is the look of that has the best potential to produce a larger swath of damaging winds in a more widespread complex through portions of the Corn Belt. We will see a very sharp gradient of moisture and storm fuel set up over the Corn Belt that I will show later in the video. And as that shortwave arrives over the gradient, we should begin to see storms initiate. This is by about 2 a.m. Sunday morning, so very late initiation tomorrow night. But the environment will be extremely supportive of a long-lived complex with all hazards possible. But again, the main threat will be widespread damaging wind gusts. Now, there's two uncertainties here, though, because the model guidance struggles. The complex placement, it could be further north, it could be further south. It all depends with the gradient that will exactly set up tomorrow night. And the second thing is, will it be able to organize into an actual complex that can produce damaging wind gusts or intense wind gusts, even if 75 plus miles an hour. This model run says yes to that. By Sunday morning, we have a pretty large complex in MCS, which is a mesoscale convective system, through Iowa down to Missouri, racing east southeast, and this will likely continue well into Illinois during the morning hours of Sunday. Now again, models struggle on these types of events, so I mean it's very likely that we will have a complex, but it might not unfold of what this model run has showing at this time. But again, confidence is slowly increasing in swaths of damaging wind gusts, likely over portions of Nebraska, Iowa, Northern Missouri, and Illinois for late tomorrow night and into Sunday morning. Now for today, there won't be a lot of storm fuel in place, but there will be enough with the dynamics in place to get a cluster of thunderstorms along the warm front, maybe some isolated thunderstorms draped along the cold front for portions of Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa for later today. This is a look at storm fuel by early afternoon. You can see we have, about 1,000 to 2,000, maybe 3,000 south of the warm front joules of storm fuel. It's a bit more favorable over here, so that's why this cluster will likely ride this warm front this afternoon and evening time frame, which will include likely Cedar Rapids area down to Davenport, potentially Waterloo, Marshalltown, and them areas. Maybe as far west as Des Moines, but I guess we'll see how that exactly unfolds. Now, by tomorrow night, we will have a very sharp gradient in place with storm fuel, as these storms will begin to initiate late tomorrow night. There will be a pretty sharp gradient in place. We will have a blob of extreme Cape Vez up to 4,000 joules or so, and it's a little bit less for the east, but it's still plenty with the dynamics we will have in place. But again, a very sharp gradient will be in place tomorrow night into Sunday morning for this complex to thrive off of. And these complexes, again, love to thrive off of these gradients they have every single year. And it looks like that storm fuel will continue to increase even into Sunday morning ahead of this complex, which will likely fuel this complex to push further southeast and be a bit more long-lived. This could develop further west even, but either way, it does look like it will develop in a very unstable air mass. Now taking a look at Sunday, this will really depend on how tomorrow night evolves with the complex. But Sunday will be another day of severe weather with at least one round of thunderstorms of severe weather, but likely two, one being in the morning from that complex, and then again in the evening and overnight hours Sunday night. Confidence is increasing in another round of severe weather Sunday night as another short wave begins to push southeast into the region. Now this is a look at a little bit of a slightly less high resolution model, but it is still a decent model, I guess you can show for this range. And this does have a complex pushing southeast through portions of Wisconsin, Iowa, and into Illinois. Once again, Sunday as early as midday. This model has. I bet it will be later than that. Either way, it does have a complex pushing southeast along the gradient Sunday, and likely another complex or at least training or rounds of thunderstorms along this gradient into Sunday evening into the overnight hours Sunday night. It looks like we may have another complex Sunday night that will track just a little bit further south than the complex earlier in the daytime. That's usually how that goes. So again, a lot of rounds of severe weather expected over the coming days or so that we did forecast about a week or so ago. This is a look at dew points for Sunday afternoon and evening. You can see the sharp gradient in place. You have dew points up to 80 down into Iowa and southern Illinois, and then you have dew points up in the mid 60s for the north. These complexes will likely ride this gradient into Iowa, Illinois, and southern Wisconsin Sunday night and into Monday morning as well. Of course, with very high dew points, we will have extreme Cape values in place. It looks like we was upwards of 5,000 plus joules, even for this time of the year. That is definitely on the high end. That's for sure. And as moving to Monday, we will likely have another round of severe weather Monday afternoon and evening. Likely for very similar areas. It depends how Sunday evolves, but it looks like we will have severe weather likely along. This could be more of a cold front. The warm front might turn into a cold front Monday, but it looks like it will be over similar areas again on Monday for more rounds of severe weather. But that's a bit further out this time, and I'm trying to go about 2 days at a time in this type of pattern. But just know that we will likely have severe weather as well into early next week. Taking a look at the upper air pattern as we move into tomorrow, we see a pretty decent wind speeds at the mid-level flow that will be placed into the upper Midwest for tomorrow afternoon and evening. On the southern area, in the southern flank of this jet streak, that's where you will get to see weather. We will have likely a bit of shortwave push southeast tomorrow evening and overnight hours. You can see that here. Push southeast, and that will allow for an organized complex to happen. So again, we won't just have the storm fuel in place and moisture in place, but we will also have all the dynamics, the wind shear in place from these shortwave troughs to move through. And again, Sunday we will have a more organized shortwave trough in place Sunday afternoon, evening. You can see a pretty good belt of mid-level flow over the Midwest, the Corn Belt area, and that will also allow for another episode of organized severe weather again. Moving to Monday, it looks like we will again have a very similar look for Monday with pretty decent amount of mid-level flow in place, with this jet streak pushing it a little bit further south now, so that will likely allow for weather to be a little bit further south Monday, and like down further into Iowa, into Illinois, maybe even further south than that Monday. It just depends how things evolve with Sunday and how the upper air dynamics will evolve overall. But again, we will have a ton of wind shear in place for multiple days of weather tomorrow, today, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, and also maybe potentially into next Tuesday and Wednesday. Before I wrap this video up, I am using ZoneWatchPro.com. It is a subscription, but you get a ton of different features on ZoneWatch. You get all these different pro features, all the layers for weather ingredients and for winter weather as well, and just a lot more you get for only half the price of any other weather website or platform as well. This is a look at Saturday night from a different model. Tomorrow night from a different model. I tend to use not this model as much. It can be a bit more inaccurate, but this does also have severe weather developing late tomorrow night into Sunday morning. It's more scattered, not as organized in the Corn Belt area, but it does have at least some sort of complexes or clusters of thunderstorms happening. So decent agreement and more than one model on tomorrow night's severe event to materialize. So I'm not just throwing this stuff out just to throw it out or to hype anything up. We will have a very favorable pattern over the coming days for multiple rounds of severe weather over very similar areas. So definitely a very active pattern that we've had for a bit. This model does have again the complexes happening. Then it does have storms developing again Sunday evening. Sunday evening, it looks like they're trying to get some storms developing on the cold front or so. Wisconsin and Iowa, this could materialize. We'll see how things evolve again with tomorrow, one day at a time. That's for sure. And make sure you subscribe here on YouTube, order some merch, which is on my Facebook page, and then follow me on X, which is Midwest Weather.